the fucking chances that like out here in the middle of fucking Coconut Grove, that like two people from Kendall are gonna be sitting in front of my house like waiting for the fucking drug that I've been like trying to not do forever. So I ended up hanging out with her and getting high with her, and we got high for probably a few months. My mom, like, she started kind of to notice like my behavior getting a little shifty, and I started stealing from her, and God, it was just probably at least, let's say I was probably like 16 then, 16, 17, probably at least 2 years of like me stealing from my mom, like stealing her pills and like hanging out with the girl that I met in front of my house to get high if I couldn't steal from my mom her pills, right. Like for like almost 2 years. And then I stopped doing, I like on my own like stopped doing pills. I was like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I got my GED, got clean. I got a job on Bayshore, actually two buildings down from the Grand, at Mike's, and was working there as a waitress, like Mike's at the Venetia.
Yeah,
I was making good money there. I've worked there 3 different times.
Yeah, but my childhood friend, dude, crazy. Yeah, no, I went to school with her like my whole life. All right, cool. So, small world.
Yeah. I started working there. I was doing good. And then, you know, restaurant atmosphere, you know, wonderful cook at the time was like, you know, doing coke in the fucking restaurant. I'm like, hey, you know, whatever. I can make money doing this. Cool. All right. That one night, I was like having a super bad night. I'm like, I made a lot of money that night, but I was like I was in a shitty mood. And this guy came in, and like instantly we clicked. He had his 2 cousins with him, and they were like trashed on ecstasy, like couldn't walk, couldn't talk, like just, I mean, fucked up. And he's like the only sober one. He's like, I'm so sorry, and you know, like, he's apologizing for them. Like I was clocking out, I'm counting my tips, and we started talking, and he's like, come to find out, he's my neighbor, like wow. From my mom's house. Like his mom was down the street, and we started talking and hanging out, whatever. And he's like, you know what, come hang out with me. I'm like, all right, cool. And I called him when I got off work. We went and hung out at the like house across the street that this old lady lived at. Like she doesn't know that we're sitting on her porch. Like, that's where we kicked it at. She's like 92. She couldn't hear us. We would hang out on her porch. And he told me that he was an addict from heroin, but that he had been clean for like a year. And we started doing dope together pretty fast.
Heroin.
It was like, yeah, I was like, well, I'm getting high, like, here. Yeah.
So wait,
he relapsed with me.
And that was your first time trying heroin?
Yeah.
Did you snort it, or?
Yeah.
What was that like the first time? Or was it not as an intense of a feeling because you had been doing others?
I don't know, it was even better than the first time. It was even better than fucking pills were, in my mind. It had been so long since I did opiates too, so it was like, oh my god, this is that feeling like all over again times like 100. We were together for like a year before, about a year probably before I started shooting it. He had already been shooting dope before I met him, but he had like I said, he got clean, and we were snorting it. And then I caught him with a needle one night, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, you know, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, all right, you gonna help me do it or what? Yeah, I'm gonna help you. All right, cool, let's do it. Instantly, it was like, you can't go back from that. I mean, I really, really can't go back from that. It's not gonna have the same effect anymore. You're gonna be sick. So I started using a needle with him. Progression happens quickly. I had already tried like so many drugs before then, like crack, meth, all that. I tried it all. I didn't like it. I didn't like coke. was not a fan of uppers. And then he let me. I caught him one day doing. We like would smoke crack though, and like then like we would do our boy, and then we would our heroin, and then we would smoke crack, and then do boy again. And then I caught him one day like mixing something, and I'm like thinking it's heroin, and I'm looking at the color and it's blue. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm speedballing. I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, I'm shooting crack and heroin. It's blue because it's got Kool-Aid in it. Because you got to break it down. I'm like, okay, let me try it. Why? I guess more, whatever. I don't know. Let me try it. No, I'm not going to let you try it. Why? You're going to love it. Great, thanks for telling me that. Over like 2 weeks, I begged him, let me try it. He kept telling me no. I figured out how to do it on my own. Never went back after. Ever since then, up until, let's see, I was like 19 then. I'm 28 now. Yeah, up and from 19 until about 26, 27, I spent fucking speedballing.
Every day?
I mean, I had like breaks where I got clean in between. But yeah, like I would never do heroin again by itself, ever. I had to have crack with it.
What makes that mixture so much better?
It's intense, and I would be able to function at work. Like I wasn't like nodding out, and like people couldn't tell that I was on heroin.
And you were still at Mike's at this time?
It would level it out. Actually, I was the second time I worked at Mike's. Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, I had to quit Mike's pretty quick when I realized that like I was like having to run to the bathroom and shoot up. And I was like, I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
They seem like they might be catching on.
How were you when you weren't working a job? How were you maintaining being able to pay for your addiction?
Yeah. When me and him started dating, and after we broke up, he brought me out to Overtown a couple times to cop. Like we would cop our dope out here and then go home. And then when me and him broke up, I started coming out here by myself. And then when I started coming out here by myself, it was like, okay, now this is a whole new world I didn't know existed out here.
When did you guys break up though? When did you guys break up?
Probably like a year and a half.
After?
Almost 2 years, yeah.
So you were still in your early 20s.
We both went to jail, yeah. And then split ways. But actually, we still talk. He's clean now. After many relapses. He relapsed actually not that long ago, but he's been clean now. He's doing really good. He's a graffiti artist. Really good graffiti artist. He gets paid to do it now.
What's his name? Like his artist name?
Edge.
What is it?
Edge.
Edge?
ETCH.
Oh, I've never.
It's all over out here. Did you see him?
Edge. Okay.
Now that you've heard it, like you'll be looking around, you'll see it.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you though. So you were saying you had to start coming out to Overtown by yourself?
Yeah, I started coming out to Overtown by myself, and then people started coming up to me. Hey, I'll pay you to have sex and XYZ. All right. I don't have any other way to get money at this moment. I'm dope sick. Fuck it. And it went there. And not for a lot either. I was young and stupid.
Had you done this sort of thing since Rob?
No. Not in that fashion, no. I mean, it might have been like we're all at a party hanging out, and like, hey, he's got the drugs, and we end up having sex or something. But it wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna pay you.
Right.
Like, jump in my car, I'm gonna pay you, and when you're done, you like, no, never. I mean, other than Rob. I guess that's what made it so easy, though. I'd already done it with him. Like, it was like, what's the difference? So, yeah, so I started tricking out here in Overtown, and for a long ass time, I would come home and show up at my mom's house when I was like fucking wore out, and my mom would let me in and go to sleep and clean up, and then ended up coming right back out here for a long time. It was like many years of doing like pretty much all of what I just said until I in between all of that, those years of doing what I just said, I went to rehab probably 8 times. Every time I went to rehab, I left early until the last, in and out of jail for petty theft, violation of probation, because I got put on probation when I was 19, when I was with David for stealing from Home Depot. I got put on probation and then could never stay clean, so I would never go check in. So I went to jail like probably 10 times, back and forth on violation of probation. They sent me to rehab. I left, went back to jail, was still on probation, managed somehow to keep going to probation and stay legally aligned while getting high. And then, let's see, I met my ex-boyfriend, the last person I dated before who I'm with now, Deshaun, I met in rehab. Actually, the last rehab I went to in North Miami. He was married. When he went to rehab, he was married. He came to rehab for alcohol. He's from Jersey. And we ended up really hitting it off, and him and his wife were already getting divorced, but he moved down here to Miami with me and my mom, who had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. She lost her job.
Your mom?
Yeah, she lost her job, and she was without health insurance and everything. So she had felt a lump in her breast, but like couldn't really do anything about it. And then she got a job, a really good job, but it was going to take a while for her life insurance, health insurance, and everything to kick in. So she didn't want to go to the doctor and have it on record that she had cancer before she could get life insurance, because she didn't want to leave us with nothing. So by the time she went to the doctor, she already had stage 4 breast cancer, metastatic. It was in her bone marrow and her breast. So when I went to rehab, I already knew this. They told her, basically it was like really nothing they could do other than like chemo, but it really wasn't going to do anything. It was just going to maybe prolong it a little bit. So she didn't do chemo. She took like the pill, like chemo pill kind of, like that you see on TV. And it did help. It helped her for a while. It extended her life a few years. And when I went to rehab and I met my ex, Deshaun, he ended up moving down here to Miami from Jersey. We went up there, got all his stuff, brought him down here. He moved in with me and my mom, helped me take care of my mom, and I was doing outpatient. I was clean. I was doing good. And then you couldn't tell my mom was sick at all. She worked until like literally a week before she died. The week before she died, she ate something in our fridge that like gave her food poisoning or something. It was old. And she got food poisoning, and then she was already having like shortness of breath, but that's a side effect of her medication, so she didn't think anything about it. She had food poisoning, and then it like instantly just like turned overnight. Like she couldn't breathe, like she was like choking. Took her to the hospital, and they said that it had went to her lungs, and like that was pretty much gonna be like it. Like we knew. So she ended up dying a week later, and the day she died, actually, I ended up relapsing. Like an hour before she died, I went and bought dope, and like came back to the hospital and was in the parking lot shooting up when my grandma called me and was like, "Your mom's coding, come upstairs." I went upstairs. They tried to revive my mom for like 45 minutes, and regardless of everything that had happened, my mom was like my best friend. I told my mom everything. Like the shit I'm telling you now, you don't tell your parents, but like I told my mom everything. And when I was in need, I called my mom. So when my mom died, like it hit me pretty hard, and I was off to the races, like getting high after that, coming out here in my mom's car, like every chance I could get to come get dope. And I knew that my mom had left me some money. So even though I was getting high, I'm like, I tried to do what I knew I needed to do. I bought a house, paid cash for it, a $320,000 house in Brownsville, of all places. And bought a car. You know, me and my ex, he has kids. We would travel to New Jersey, see his kids. Like, we were doing great. I was still getting high, but I was functioning. I mean, to the best of what I guess a functioning addict can be. I mean, functioning still gets you, you know, this. But
Yeah.
Other people didn't know. And it wasn't per se, I mean, it was affecting my finances to the point that I was spending money on it, but it wasn't affecting, like, me having my lights on or my water on. And we stayed like that for probably a year. And then he got tired of me getting high. I got tired of him drinking. And then his son died. His son got murdered in New Jersey. So we went to New Jersey for his son's burial. Well, I wasn't there for the funeral. I had to come home. We couldn't afford it at the time. We went up there right after he got killed and you know, saw his son's mother and his family and everything. And then we came back down here to Miami. And probably maybe 3 months after that, I was walking to the gas station and a van. It's Brownsville. It's, you know, a bad neighborhood. There's a lot of drugs and a lot of prostitutes, especially where I lived at on 49th Street and 29th Avenue. I was walking to the U-Gas down the street and a van pulled up and they tried to, like, say something to me, like trying to pick me up, and I was like, no, I don't do that. They circled the block when I was leaving the gas station and came back around and opened the back door, and snatched me and grabbed me and pulled me in the car and kidnapped me. And I was missing for a month and a half. And the whole month and a half that I was there, there was multiple females in the house. Like, they were trying to sell them, like, online to people. I had to pay my own, like, when stimulus came out, I had to give them my stimulus money for them to let me go. Like, when they let me go, I was running down. They let me go on 54th Street and 22nd Avenue, and I was running down the street at 3 o'clock in the morning and crossed 22nd and 54 and got run over by a car. Like, all of this, like, all the way up to here on my leg, like this right here. I have a huge scar on the back of my leg. Like, I got hit by a car. And from that, I went to the doctor and found out that I was pregnant by one of the people that raped me while I was kidnapped with my son, my beautiful son. And when I found out I was pregnant, I told we were still together at the time, I told my boyfriend Deshaun, you know, like, let's sell the house, let's move to Iowa and be close to my dad. So we did. We sold the house, and immediately, like, in less than 2 weeks, we were gone. I took a huge loss on my house, like almost a $200,000 loss just to get out of here, and moved to Iowa, where all my stuff is still at right now. Moved to Iowa, and I was up there pretty much my whole pregnancy. I mean, we travel, like, we would go to Jersey to see his kids. It's like a 17-hour ride from Iowa. And then right around, like, me being 8 months pregnant, we came down here to take care of some legal stuff for him. And I was due October 1st, 2021. And we had just bought a brand new BMW, and I was like, let's get the oil changed before we go home. And they said that there was a part that was bad on the car and it needed to be fixed. None of the shops out here had the part, and it was going to take them 2 weeks to get the part ordered. Not to fix it, to get it ordered. And I couldn't drive it without it. So I got stuck here, almost at my due date. And I went into labor in a, like, 5-star hotel in Brickell on September 28th, 2021. And when they took me to Jackson Memorial, and I went into labor, I gave birth to my son. Everything was fine. He's beautiful, looks just like me. I obviously I don't know who his dad is, but my ex signed the birth certificate and everything. Looks just like me. I can't tell who he looks like. I mean, he looks like me. So when I gave birth to my son, I wasn't on drugs while I was pregnant, any of that. I mean, once I, went up to Iowa and everything, I was clean, stayed clean for my son. 3 days after he was born, my ex-wife called DCF on me and said that I was an addict and I was junkie and I was getting high and all this shit. And Jackson Memorial Hospital, the nurse came in and said, it's time to give him his medication. He was in the NICU because the guy that 3 days after he was born, he was in the NICU because the guy that raped me gave me syphilis. So my son both of us had to be treated. I didn't know it at the time. Both of us had to be treated, so he's in the NICU. 3 days after he was born, she called DCF. The nurse comes to me, it was time to give him his medication for what? We're giving him morphine. Why? Oh, because he's withdrawing. My son's withdrawing from what? There's nothing in our system. I'm not getting high. When she called DCF, and DCF came to the hospital and they looked at my record, I don't know what was said. I have a lawsuit going on. I don't know what was said or what happened, but now all of a sudden my son is withdrawing from opiates.
Was he actually?
No. He had nothing in his system, and neither did I.
Yeah, so it's not even possible.
No. And 28 days after him being in the hospital for withdrawing and then giving him morphine, DCF came to the hospital and said I couldn't take my son home because I had no family here. And they put my ex on the case, which at the time we were together, put him on the case with me because he should have stopped me from getting high. How can you, even if I was getting high, how can you physically stop somebody else from getting high and then tell them that he can't have his child? They came to the hospital and took my son, my firstborn child, my twin, came to the hospital that I got clean for and took him with him and put him with foster parents. And I've been stuck here since fighting my case. I had $40,000 when I got here, and I went broke and homeless fighting my case. And at that point, I mean, you're broke and homeless and you don't have your kid, dog. What else am I gonna do other than get high? In Overtown, I'm homeless. And I started getting high again and shooting dope again. And I mean, from 0 to 100 in 2 months. The worst I had ever been in my life. I had nothing left to live for in my mind. Me and my ex had split up. I was at the point that I literally was walking down this road behind us and was like, I'm gonna go kill myself. I have nothing left to live for. And the person that I was with when you picked me up is actually my current boyfriend.
The guy sitting behind the gate?
Yeah, we actually, he was sitting under the bridge and I'd stopped and talked to him for a minute and we ended up hanging out and smoking a blunt together and I don't know what it was I don't remember what it was to this day that he said to me. This was in August. This is not that many months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, I don't remember what it was he said to me, but we ended up hanging out and we went to Brickell. I was going to get a hotel room and it didn't happen. For some reason, we couldn't get in the hotel. And it was something about the deposit. We couldn't get the room. I had already paid for it and everything. We couldn't get the room and we ended up hanging out underneath the Brickell Bridge together all night. And really hit it off and had been together since, but he doesn't do dope. So, he didn't, he kind of motivated me to stop shooting dope. And I haven't shot dope in 4 months now.
What are the marks on your arm?
Scars from abscesses from shooting cocaine and from shooting crack and heroin. Or fentanyl now.
But you don't shoot it anymore?
No. This is after 4 or 5 months of being clean and my arms still look like this. Well, not clean, because I still snort. I tried. But it's a progression, I guess. I mean, I progressively got to that point, but I'm progressively, like, I went from shooting to, you know, like snorting probably like 4 bags a day. I mean, I was like shooting like $300 a day. To doing like maybe 4 bags a day to like now I do like half of one just to not be sick. Because I'm waiting to get Subutex.
What do you think it would take for you to get out of here? Is that really what you want, or does the idea of being sober, like, do you not want to be sober?
I need to get out of here and want to get out of here.
Do you want to stop doing drugs, or is like the craving too strong?
I do want to stop doing drugs. I don't think I'll stop smoking weed or like shit like that every now and then. But like opiates, I know I have an issue.
Do you think you've hit rock bottom, as people say needs to happen?
I've already been there.
You've hit rock bottom?
I've been there. I'm back up from rock bottom and still on drugs, so I don't think that works.
And so why don't you go to a rehab?
It's you're gonna get clean whether you're in rehab or not. It's a choice, and at this moment I actively choose not to, because until I can leave here, the only means that I have of making money and supporting myself right now is tricking. I'm not going to do that sober. But I have an opportunity soon. I mean, I'm receiving some money from something soon, and I'm using that money to get out of here and go back to Iowa where my family's at. And I didn't have an issue the last time, and I won't have an issue this time not doing it. So you plan to get the money and get out of here and clean up in Iowa? You don't think you'll end up spending the money on drugs? No, I know I won't. 15 years. I mean, some people it takes 30, some people it takes 2 years, but I mean, 15 is mine. It's a long ass time, but still, 15 is mine.
I hope it works out.
Hope we're not doing this interview again in like 2 years, right?
I know you can do it.
No, I know.
You're super young.
Yeah.
28, I mean, your life just started basically.
It has.
You haven't even lived half your life.
It has.